The twin suns of the colony world cast long golden rays across the city of steel and stone. Towers stood tall against the sky, their surfaces gleaming as transport ships drifted slowly above. The colony of Ryan was a place of both hope and fear. Humans had worked for decades to shape it into a home, but everyone knew the shadow of alien rulers always hung above them. Aaron walked across the central command platform, his boots echoing against the metal floor. He was tall and broad, a soldier shaped by years of battle and training. His eyes were sharp, always searching for danger, always ready to protect. Behind him, soldiers in grey armor stood in neat lines, waiting for orders. Yet Aaron's mind was not only on war. His thoughts drifted toward Myra, the engineer who worked in the lower bays. Myra was not like the others. She was quiet but full of determination, her hands always busy repairing engines, crafting tools, or sketching designs that few others could understand. She had a gift for machines, and many said her mind was faster than any computer in the colony. Aaron had known her since the first ships landed on Ryan. Over the years, he had grown protective of her, believing that her life was precious not just for him, but for humanity's survival. That evening, Aaron found Myra working near the base of a giant transport. Sparks flashed as she tightened a panel, her face lit by the glow of her tools. She looked up as Aaron approached, brushing dust from her hands. "You should rest," Aaron said, his voice steady but carrying a trace of worry. "You have been working since dawn." Myra smiled faintly. "Machines do not wait. If I do not fix them, no one will." Aaron stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Myra, you belong to me forever. No alien, no war, no danger will take you away. I will not allow it." For a moment, Myra said nothing. She looked at him, her eyes calm but unreadable. Inside, her heart was heavy. She cared for Aaron, but his words felt like chains. She knew he meant to protect her, yet she also knew something he did not. She carried a secret that could change everything for the colony. She turned back to her tools. "The colony does not belong to anyone, Aaron. It belongs to all of us. And I belong to the future we must build." Aaron frowned, not fully understanding. He reached out and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You will see. No matter what comes, I will keep you safe. That is my promise." The air between them grew tense, but neither spoke further. Aaron walked away, his soldiers following. Myra remained, her hands trembling slightly as she returned to her work. When the night cycle began, the streets of Ryan fell silent. The colony lights dimmed, leaving only the glow of the towers. Myra slipped away from the open bays and moved toward the hidden tunnels beneath the city. Few people knew these tunnels existed. They had been carved long ago during the first construction phase, forgotten by most. But Myra had found them and turned them into her private workshop. Inside, old walls were covered with drawings, wires, and fragments of machines. Strange devices hummed faintly in the darkness. On a workbench lay a half-finished machine, shaped like a core of energy. Its surface pulsed with soft blue light. Myra stood before it, her eyes shining with determination. "This is the only way," she whispered to herself. Her hands moved quickly as she adjusted circuits and placed new parts into the device. She was building something far greater than a transport engine or a defense shield. This machine had the power to reach into the systems of the alien rulers, to disrupt their control, to give humans a chance to stand on their own. Every day she heard Aaron's words echo in her mind, "You belong to me forever." But she knew her path was not one of belonging. It was one of freedom. If she succeeded, no alien could enslave humanity, and no human would need to be owned by another. Hours passed as Myra worked. Her tools sparked, her eyes grew tired, yet she pushed forward. The secret plan was dangerous. If the aliens discovered her device, they would destroy her without mercy. Even Aaron, if he knew, might try to stop her out of fear. That was why she could not tell him, not yet. Above the tunnels, Aaron stood on the walls of the colony, watching the skies. His soldiers guarded the perimeter, scanning for alien ships. Aaron's thoughts kept drifting back to Myra. He believed she needed his protection, yet something inside told him she was slipping beyond his reach. Still, he clung to his promise. "She belongs to me," he whispered under the stars. "Forever." Far below, Myra placed the final piece onto the glowing core. The machine pulsed brighter, casting light across the tunnel walls. She stepped back, breathing hard. The device was not complete yet, but it was closer than ever. She knew time was short. The alien overlords had already sent warnings. Soon they would demand more from the colony, perhaps even total submission. Myra touched the surface of the machine gently, as if it were alive. Her voice was soft but firm. "You do not know it yet, Aaron, but this is the true promise. Not belonging to one person. Not hiding under alien rule. The promise is freedom. And I will make sure humanity keeps it." The night ended with the machine glowing silently in the dark, waiting for the day it would change everything. Morning came to the colony of Ryan with the bright heat of twin suns. Workers filled the streets, moving quickly to their stations. Some carried heavy tools, others pushed carts of supplies, and soldiers marched in patrols to remind everyone that order was still under human hands. Yet behind every smile and every step was the silent fear of the alien overlords who ruled from above the skies. Myra walked among the workers, her clothes marked with grease and dust from long hours of labor. No one paid much attention to her. To most, she was only an engineer who kept the transports and defense systems working. But hidden inside her small toolkit was a set of delicate parts that did not belong to any colony record. Each piece was a fragment of her greater secret, a device powerful enough to give humans a chance against alien control. She kept her head low as she reached the repair bays. Sparks flew, engines roared, and machines clattered as workers fixed damaged vehicles. Myra joined them, pretending to work on an old generator. In truth, her hands moved with care to hide the parts she had smuggled in. When the others turned away, she slipped the pieces into her pocket. At the same time, Aaron stood in the command tower above the city. His eyes scanned the large screen that showed the sky. Patrol ships of the alien overlords drifted far above the colony, their sleek black shapes casting long shadows. Aaron clenched his fists. He had fought before and he knew how powerful those ships were. He also knew the aliens only tolerated the colony as long as humans obeyed. One of his officers stepped forward. "Commander, reports say the alien envoy will arrive in 3 days. They want new resources." Aaron nodded. His jaw tightened. "Prepare the soldiers. They must see that we are not weak." He gave the order with force, but inside his heart carried a different weight. He thought of Myra, still working somewhere below. He had promised her safety. He believed that when the aliens came, he alone could shield her. What he did not know was that Myra's safety did not rest in his promise. It rested in her hidden plan. That night, when the streets grew silent and the sky darkened, Myra returned to her secret tunnels. She lit the lamps and uncovered her glowing machine. The core pulsed like a living heart, its light spreading across the stone walls. She set the new parts on her table and began to work. Every piece had to be perfect. A single mistake could cause the machine to collapse, and she would lose everything. Her fingers moved quickly but carefully, attaching wires, fixing circuits, and adjusting the power flow. As she worked, she whispered to herself, reminding her heart why she risked so much. Not for one person, not for fear, not for chains. For freedom. Hours passed. Her hands ached, her eyes grew heavy, but the machine was closer to completion. She imagined the day it would rise against the alien ships, a pulse breaking their systems, giving humans the power to fight back. She imagined a colony where no one would have to bow to alien masters again. Yet even as she dreamed, her thoughts returned to Aaron. His words still lingered in her memory. "You belong to me forever." He did not understand. He wanted to protect her, but protection was not enough. Freedom could not live in a cage, even one built by care. She loved his strength, but she feared his control. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the tunnel. Myra froze. She quickly covered the machine with a heavy cloth and switched off the lamps. Her heart pounded as footsteps drew near. For a moment she thought the aliens had discovered her secret. She reached for a wrench, ready to defend herself. But then a voice called softly, "Myra, are you here?" Relief and fear struck her at once. It was not an alien. It was Aaron. He appeared in the dim light, his armor casting shadows against the wall. His eyes narrowed as he looked around the strange workshop. "What is this place?" he asked. Myra forced a calm expression. "Just an old tunnel. I use it for extra work. No one bothers me here." Aaron stepped closer, his eyes sharp. "You hide things from me." Her chest tightened. For a moment she thought he had seen the machine. But she stood her ground. "I fix what others cannot. That is all." Aaron studied her face for a long moment, then sighed. "You work too much. You carry burdens alone. You must trust me. You belong to me, Myra. You always will." She looked away, her voice quiet but firm. "I belong to the future, Aaron. That is where my trust is." He did not understand, but he did not press further. He placed his hand on her arm and spoke softly, almost pleading. "Stay safe. Do not go where danger waits. Promise me that." Myra gave a small nod, though inside her heart refused. The path she had chosen could never be safe. When Aaron left, Myra waited until the sound of his footsteps faded. Only then did she uncover the glowing machine again. She placed her hands on it, feeling the warmth of its power. Aaron's presence had shaken her, but it had also strengthened her resolve. He might see her as something to protect, but she knew she was meant to protect them all. Above the tunnels, life in the colony continued. Soldiers sharpened their weapons. Workers prepared shipments for the alien envoy. Children played in the streets, unaware of the danger that loomed. The sky held the dark shape of alien ships, and everyone knew the overlords would soon demand more. Myra's machine pulsed brighter, as if it could sense the coming storm. She leaned closer and whispered, "I will not stop. Even if Aaron never understands. Even if the aliens destroy me. I will finish this." The shadow plan was no longer just an idea. It was alive, growing stronger each night. And soon, the whole colony would feel its power. The day of the alien envoy drew closer, and the entire colony of Ryan felt the weight of it. Workers moved faster, soldiers drilled harder, and commanders whispered of demands that would soon come. The skies above carried the distant hum of alien patrol ships, dark and sharp like blades across the horizon. Everyone knew the overlords did not travel lightly. They came only to take, to demand, and to remind humans of their weakness. Myra stood on the repair bay platform, pretending to work on a transport engine. Her hands moved, but her mind was far away. Each sound of metal and each spark of fire reminded her of the hidden machine waiting in the tunnels below. She had tested it the night before, and for the first time, the core had given off a strong pulse that made the lamps flicker. It was proof that her plan was real. If she could finish it before the envoy arrived, she might strike a blow the aliens would never forget. But she also knew how dangerous it was. If the aliens even suspected her secret, they would not just take her life. They would punish the whole colony. That was the pressure that weighed on her shoulders every hour. At the same time, Aaron stood at the command tower, his officers gathered around him. Maps of the colony glowed on the table. Lines marked the landing zones where the envoy ships would arrive. Aaron studied them with a hard face. "They will ask for more workers," one officer said. "And more resources. If we resist, they will punish us." Aaron slammed his hand against the table. "We cannot keep giving. If we give more, the colony will break. Our people are not slaves." Another officer lowered his voice. "But Commander, we cannot fight them. Their ships would destroy us in moments." Aaron turned away, his jaw tight. He hated those words. He hated the truth in them. Yet he refused to show fear. "Then we will stand strong in other ways. We will remind them that humans are not weak. I will not bow to them." As the meeting ended, Aaron walked to the balcony of the tower. His eyes scanned the streets below, filled with people preparing for the envoy's arrival. Children clung to their parents. Merchants packed their goods. Soldiers tightened their armor. And somewhere among them was Myra, hidden with her secrets. That night, the colony's sky burned red as alien ships descended lower than before. Their engines roared like thunder, shaking the towers. People stopped in the streets, staring upward with pale faces. The overlords had not even landed, but their presence alone spread fear. Myra watched the sky from the shadows of her tunnel entrance. Her chest tightened as she saw the dark ships hover closer. Their design was cold and sharp, built for control, not beauty. She knew they carried weapons far beyond human strength. She also knew her machine had to work, because without it, there would never be freedom. She hurried into the tunnels and lit her lamps. The core of her device pulsed steadily, glowing brighter than before. She connected another set of wires, adjusted the energy flow, and felt a deep hum run through the ground. The machine was alive now. Soon, she would test it against the power of the alien ships. Yet her hands trembled. She thought of Aaron again. He believed he could protect her by force of will, by standing tall against alien power. He had told her she belonged to him, as if that promise could shield her from everything. But Myra knew better. Promises could not stop alien ships. Words could not break chains. Only action could. Still, her heart ached. She did not want Aaron to see her as an enemy. She wished he could understand that her secret was not betrayal, but hope. The next morning, Aaron visited the repair bay. He found Myra bent over a control panel, her face lit by the glow of sparks. "You work even harder than the soldiers," Aaron said. Myra looked up, trying to hide her tension. "Machines must be ready. The envoy arrives soon." Aaron stepped closer, lowering his voice. "When they come, do not be near the landing zones. Stay close to me. If they dare to touch you, they will answer to me." Myra wiped her hands and met his eyes. "Aaron, this is bigger than you and me. You cannot fight them alone. I do not need to be alone, he said firmly. I have soldiers. I have strength. And I have you. Her heart stung at his words. He meant them with care, but they sounded like chains again. She gave a small nod, saying nothing more, for she could not reveal her plan. By evening, the colony was silent. The landing zones were cleared, soldiers stood in lines, and the people stayed behind walls and windows. The air itself felt heavy, waiting. Then, with a scream of engines, the envoy ship descended. It was larger than the others, black and shining with strange symbols. It landed slowly, shaking the ground, and silence filled the city. The doors opened, and the alien envoy stepped out. Tall, slender, with silver armor that reflected the suns, they walked with calm power. Their eyes glowed faintly, their movements smooth and cold. Around them, smaller alien guards carried weapons that hummed with deadly light. The envoy raised one hand, and a voice echoed across the square, carried by strange devices. Humans of Ryan. You live because we allow it. You work because we command it. Now you will give more. A murmur spread through the humans. Soldiers gripped their weapons tighter, but none dared raise them. Aaron stepped forward, his hand on his sword, his eyes burning with defiance. We have given enough, Aaron shouted. You will not take all from us. The envoy tilted their head, their glowing eyes fixed on him. You are strong in words, human. But words do not change your place. The alien guards raised their weapons. For a moment, it seemed the clash would begin right there. Myra, hidden at the edge of the crowd, felt her breath catch. She reached into her pocket, touching a small control switch connected to her machine. Her plan was ready, but she hesitated. One wrong move could bring ruin to everyone. The envoy's voice cut through the silence again. 3 days. You will gather workers and resources. If you do not, the colony will burn. Then they turned, and the alien ship roared back into the sky, leaving fear behind like a shadow. Aaron clenched his fists, anger burning inside him. Myra slipped away into the tunnels, her decision firm. She could not wait much longer. The alien pressure was rising, and her plan had to rise with it. The colony of Ryan did not sleep after the envoy's visit. Fear spread through the streets like fire through dry grass. Parents whispered to their children, workers spoke of hidden escape routes, and soldiers sharpened weapons they knew would never match alien power. Everyone felt the weight of the 3 days given by the envoy. Aaron walked the walls of the colony, his fists clenched. He replayed the envoy's words again and again. They had spoken as if humans were nothing but tools, as if the colony itself was already lost. Aaron would not accept it. He had sworn to protect his people, and above all, he had sworn to protect Myra. Yet he felt a storm growing inside him, because Myra had grown distant. She no longer met his eyes the way she once had. She slipped away at night, and he did not know where. That evening, he found her again in the repair bay. She was bent over a power cell, sparks flying as her hands worked quickly. She did not notice him until his shadow fell across the table. Myra, he said, his voice firm, where do you go when the sun set? I see you leave. I know you hide something. Her hands paused, but she did not look up. I work, Aaron. I fix what must be fixed. That is all. Aaron stepped closer. Do not lie to me. You are keeping secrets. You belong to me, Myra. You must trust me with everything. Now she raised her eyes, and for the first time, Her calm face showed fire. I do not belong to anyone, Aaron. Not to the aliens. Not to you. My work is for the colony, not for your promise. The words struck him harder than any blade. He stood still, his breath heavy, his heart burning with both anger and fear. You speak as if I chain you. I only want to protect you. Do you not see the danger we are in? Myra wiped the grease from her hands and faced him fully. I see it more clearly than anyone. That is why I work as I do. You fight with weapons, Aaron. But I fight with something greater. If you knew what I was building, you would try to stop me. That is why I cannot tell you. Aaron's eyes widened. His voice dropped to a harsh whisper. Then it is true. You are hiding something. Myra, you must end it. If the aliens discover this, they will destroy you, and they will destroy us all. Her voice did not waver. If I do nothing, they will destroy us anyway. I will not wait for chains. I will not wait for fire from the sky. I have a plan, and I will finish it. For a long moment, silence stood between them. Aaron's chest rose and fell with anger, but beneath that anger was fear. He wanted to reach for her, to hold her close, to lock her away where no alien could find her. Yet he saw the iron in her eyes, the unshakable will. He realized he could not control her. He turned away sharply. You are reckless. You will tear everything apart. If you are caught, I will not be able to save you. Myra's voice softened, though her resolve remained. You never needed to save me, Aaron. You need to stand with me. But Aaron did not answer. He walked away, his boots echoing against the floor, his heart torn in two. That night, Myra returned to the tunnels, her mind heavy with the clash. She knew Aaron's love was strong, but his love was also a cage. He wanted her safe, but safety meant surrender, and she could not surrender. Her machine glowed brighter now, filling the hidden chamber with light. She touched its surface, whispering, "You are the path. Even if Aaron turns against me, I will not stop." Above her, Aaron stood on the highest tower, staring into the night sky. Alien ships floated like dark clouds, watching, waiting. He thought of Myra's words, of her defiance. He wanted to believe she was wrong, but something in his heart told him she might be right. Still, fear chained him. If she truly was building something dangerous, the aliens would burn the colony before her plan had a chance. The next day, tension filled the colony. Soldiers patrolled the streets, workers spoke in low voices, and children clung to their mothers. The envoy's threat was only 2 days away. Myra worked quietly in the repair bay, hiding her exhaustion. Aaron entered again, his face hard with conflict. He spoke softly this time. Myra, listen to me. If you are planning something, tell me. Let me help. Do not carry this alone. She looked at him with sad eyes. If I tell you, you will try to stop me. You do not believe in the path I choose. You believe only in strength of arms. But strength alone cannot win this. I am sorry, Aaron. Her words cut him again, but this time he did not argue. He turned and left without another word, his silence heavier than his anger. That night, Myra made her decision. She could no longer wait. She prepared her machine for its first true test. Wires hummed, lights flared, and the ground vibrated with energy. She pressed the switch, and a wave of blue light spread through the tunnel. The lamps flickered, stones cracked, and far above, in the sky, one alien patrol ship shuddered as its engines failed for a brief moment before recovering. Myra gasped. It had worked. Not fully, not for long, but it had worked. Her machine could strike at the alien ships. She fell to her knees, trembling with both fear and joy. She knew she had crossed a line. If the aliens noticed, they would come. But there was no turning back now. At that same moment, Aaron stood on the walls, watching the patrol ship tremble. His heart jumped. He did not understand what had caused it, but deep inside, he knew. Myra. She was behind this. Aaron's chest tightened with conflict. She had built something powerful, something dangerous, something that could change everything. And now he had to decide. Would he stop her, to protect her from the wrath of the aliens? Or would he stand beside her, risking everything for a chance at freedom? The rift between them had grown wide. Yet both knew their choices would soon decide the fate of the colony. The patrol ship that had shuddered in the sky the night before left the colony in whispers. Some said it was a power failure. Others believed it was a warning from the aliens. Only Myra knew the truth. Her machine had reached into the ship's systems for a brief moment and broken its control. It was the first taste of freedom, and it filled her with both pride and fear. She spent the morning hidden in the tunnels, checking every part of the device. The glowing core pulsed stronger than before, the wires humming like a heartbeat. She wrote down every detail of the test, adjusting the power flow to make it last longer next time. Her hands moved with care, but her mind raced. If she could expand the pulse, she could strike not just one ship, but an entire fleet. Above ground, the colony moved with heavy hearts. Only 2 days remained before the envoy returned to take workers and resources. Soldiers marched, but their faces were pale. Children were told to stay inside. Traders closed their stalls. Everyone felt the storm coming closer. Aaron, however, felt a storm of a different kind inside him. He had seen the alien ship falter, and in his heart he knew Myra was behind it. He walked the streets, his armor clattering, his eyes dark with thought. He wanted to confront her, to drag the truth from her, but he also feared what that truth would mean. If she had indeed built something that could touch the alien ships, then her plan was not only reckless, it was dangerous to all of them. That evening, he found her again near the repair bay. She stood alone, cleaning her tools, her face tired but steady. Aaron approached slowly, his steps heavy. "Myra," he said, his voice low, "what did you do?" She froze for a moment, then placed her tools aside. "What do you mean?" "The ship," Aaron said. "I saw it. Everyone saw it. It faltered in the sky. That was no accident. Tell me the truth." Her lips pressed together. She wanted to hide it, but there was no longer time for lies. She met his eyes. "Yes. It was me. Or rather, it was the machine I built. It reached into their systems. It worked, Aaron. It can fight them." His eyes widened, a mix of awe and terror. "You risked the entire colony. If they discover this, they will destroy us without warning." Her voice rose with passion. "And if I do nothing, they will destroy us slowly. Which is worse, Aaron? To wait for chains, or to break them even if it costs us?" He stepped closer, his hand gripping her arm. "You belong to me. I cannot let you throw yourself into danger." She pulled free, her voice sharp. "I do not belong to you. I belong to the fight for freedom. If you cannot see that, then step aside." Aaron's heart broke at her words. He loved her strength, but her defiance cut him deeply. For a long moment he stared at her, torn between anger and admiration. Then he turned away, his voice rough. "You will doom us all, Myra." She did not answer. She walked past him into the shadows, her resolve unshaken. That night, Myra returned to the tunnels and worked harder than ever. She expanded the energy coils, doubled the wires, and adjusted the flow of power. Sparks flew, smoke filled the air, and the machine roared louder than before. She wiped sweat from her brow and smiled faintly. It was ready for a greater test. But as she worked, she did not know that Aaron had followed her. He entered the tunnel quietly, his eyes wide at the sight of the glowing machine. The hum shook the walls, the blue light bathed everything in an otherworldly glow. Aaron stood frozen, torn between fear and awe. Finally, he stepped forward. "So it is true. You built this?" Myra spun around, startled. For a moment she thought of hiding the machine, but it was useless now. Aaron had seen everything. "Yes," she said firmly. "This is our chance. With this, we can fight the aliens. We can break their control." Aaron shook his head, his voice heavy. "You are only one woman. This machine is only one device. You cannot face the entire empire." Her eyes blazed with fire. "I do not need to face the empire. I only need to show humanity that we are not powerless. Once the first chain is broken, others will rise. This is how it begins." Aaron stared at her, his chest tight with conflict. He wanted to smash the machine, to end the danger, but he also wanted to believe in her vision. He saw the fire in her eyes, the strength in her spirit, and he could not deny it. "Myra," he said softly, "if you use this, you may die. If the aliens find you, they will make an example of you." She stepped closer, her voice calm but strong. "Then let them try. I will not die in chains. I will live free, even if only for a moment. And that moment will give others hope." Aaron's heart pounded. He realized then that he could not change her. He could only choose whether to stand against her or with her. Before he could answer, a sound shook the tunnel. Alarms rang above. The alien ships had returned, earlier than expected. Their engines roared, their lights cut through the night sky, and their presence filled the colony with fear. Myra's machine pulsed in response, as if sensing the threat. She grabbed the control switch and looked at Aaron. "It is time." Aaron's voice was harsh with fear. "No. Wait. You are not ready." Her eyes did not leave the glowing core. "I am ready enough." Above, the colony shook as alien ships descended. Soldiers rushed to their posts. Families huddled in their homes. And in the hidden tunnels, Myra's hand hovered over the switch that could change everything. She turned to Aaron one last time. "You swore I belonged to you forever. But I belong to this fight. Stand with me, or stand aside." The machine roared, filling the tunnel with light, and the choice lay heavy between them. The sky of Ryan turned dark as the alien ships descended. Their engines roared like storms, shaking the towers and rattling the streets. The envoy had returned earlier than promised, and this time they came with more ships than before. People screamed and ran into shelters. Soldiers rushed to the walls, their weapons shaking in their hands. The air itself felt heavy with fear. In the tunnels below, Myra stood before her machine, her hand over the control switch. The blue glow of the core spread across the chamber, casting strange shadows on the walls. Aaron stood beside her, his jaw tight, his eyes fixed on the ceiling as if he could see the alien ships through the stone. "They are here," Aaron said, his voice low but firm. "Myra, if you use this now, there will be no turning back. She looked at him, her eyes bright with resolve. There was never a way back, Aaron. Only forward. Above, the alien envoy's voice boomed through loudspeakers carried by their guards. Humans of Ryan. You have failed to prepare what we demanded. Now you will pay the price. The people trembled in silence. Soldiers stood frozen. Aaron clenched his fists, his body aching to charge, but he knew no weapon of theirs could match alien power. Only Myra's machine could shift the balance. She pressed the switch. The machine roared to life. Light exploded from the core, and a wave of energy burst upward through the ground. The colony shook as if struck by a quake. Above, the alien ships shuddered. Their lights flickered, their engines screamed, and weapons powered down one by one. The envoy's ship tilted dangerously before correcting itself, but its shields had vanished. Gasps rose from the humans on the streets. For the first time, they saw alien ships falter. For the first time, hope sparked in their hearts. Aaron's eyes widened as he watched the effect. By the suns, you did it. Myra's face was pale with strain, her hands gripping the controls tightly. Not for long. The machine cannot hold them forever. You must act now, Aaron. Lead the people. He nodded, his heart igniting with fire. He rushed up from the tunnels, his sword in hand, his voice carrying across the walls. Now is our time. Strike while they are weak. The soldiers roared with new courage. They raised their rifles and opened fire on the alien guards. The blasts, which once bounced off alien shields, now struck true. The first alien fell, and the humans cried out with triumph. The envoy, their glowing eyes narrowed, raised a hand. You dare resist. But before they could strike, another pulse tore through the air. Myra's machine roared again, and more alien weapons powered down. Panic spread through the overlords. They had never faced such defiance. Aaron charged into the square, his soldiers following. Blades clashed, rifles thundered, and human voices rang out in unison. The battle was fierce, but for the first time, it was fair. Humans fought not as prey, but as warriors. Meanwhile, in the tunnels, Myra kept her focus on the machine. Sparks flew from the coils, smoke filled the chamber, and the glow grew unstable. Her hands shook as she fought to hold it together. Sweat ran down her face, but she refused to let go. Hold, just a little longer, she whispered. Above, Aaron clashed with the envoy's guards. His blade cut through alien armor, his soldiers fought with fury, and the people of Ryan threw stones, fire, and anything they could find. The aliens, once untouchable, now stumbled back. The envoy, furious, raised a strange staff that hummed with power. Aaron faced them, his chest rising and falling with effort. Your rule ends today. The envoy struck, but the staff fizzled, its power broken by Myra's machine. Aaron seized the moment and drove his sword forward. The envoy fell, their glowing eyes dimming. Silence followed for a heartbeat, and then the humans roared with victory. But the battle was not yet won. The sky still burned with alien ships, some struggling to restart their systems. Myra's machine gave another surge, but cracks spread across its core. The ground shook violently. She realized it was reaching its limit. No, she whispered, her voice breaking. Not yet. Please, just a little longer. Aaron rushed back into the tunnels, his armor scarred, his face fierce with triumph. Myra, you must stop. The machine is tearing itself apart. She shook her head, her eyes blazing. If I stop now, they will rise again. I cannot stop, Aaron. Not until they are gone. The machine screamed, sparks flying like lightning. Aaron stepped forward, gripping her shoulders. If you fall with it, what will the people gain? They need you alive. I need you alive. Her hands trembled on the controls. She looked into his eyes, seeing both fear and love. For a moment, her resolve wavered. But then the sound of alien engines above reminded her of the cost. I belong to the fight, she said softly. And the fight is not finished. The machine gave one final surge, sending a massive pulse into the sky. Alien ships flickered and fell from the air, crashing into the distant plains. The colony shook with thunder as explosions lit the horizon. Humans cried out, some in fear, some in triumph. The overlords were retreating, their fleet broken by a single human invention. But the machine had reached its end. The core cracked open, light spilling out in violent waves. Myra cried out as the energy struck her, throwing her back. Aaron caught her in his arms, shielding her from the blast. The machine collapsed in a burst of smoke and fire, leaving the tunnel silent. Myra lay weak, her body trembling, her breath shallow. Aaron held her close, his heart pounding with both relief and terror. You did it. You saved us. Her lips curved into a faint smile. Not me. All of us. This is only the beginning. Above, the people of Ryan stood in the ruins of battle, their voices rising in cheers. For the first time in their lives, they had defeated the overlords. Hope burned bright in their eyes, stronger than any weapon. Aaron lifted Myra gently, carrying her out of the tunnel. The people saw them and shouted her name. They saw not just a soldier's strength, but the engineer's courage, and they knew their future was no longer chained. The great clash was over. But in its ashes, a new path was opening. Humanity had shown the overlords that they were not slaves. They were fighters, and they would rise again. The morning after the battle, the colony of Ryan was quiet, but it was a different quiet. The air was heavy with smoke, yet it carried hope. Buildings were scarred, streets cracked, and the remains of alien ships littered the outskirts. Humans walked slowly through the city, helping each other, tending to the wounded, and gathering what they could salvage. For the first time, they were not trembling beneath alien power. They were alive, free, and aware that they had made it happen themselves. Aaron carried Myra carefully through the streets. Her body was weak, her breath shallow, but her eyes held light, the same fire that had guided the pulse engine through the night. Citizens watched in awe, their voices quiet with respect. No one shouted her name, it was understood that she had saved them all. Aaron's armor was dented and scratched, his face blackened with dust, yet he walked tall, holding the woman who had changed everything. They reached the central square, where the people had gathered. Children peeked from behind adults, soldiers lowered their weapons, and merchants set aside their worries to witness the aftermath. Aaron set Myra down gently. She sat upright, brushing dust from her clothes and looking at the broken alien ships still smoking in the distance. You did it, Aaron said softly, kneeling beside her. You saved us all. Myra shook her head. We saved ourselves. The machine helped, yes. But it was our courage, Aaron. Humans stood together, and the aliens saw we would not bow. Aaron's gaze softened. For the first time, he did not speak of promises or belonging. He simply looked at her, awe and gratitude written across his face. You were right. Strength alone is not enough. It is courage, and hearts united, that win battles. Myra smiled faintly, still weak, but proud. She glanced at the citizens around her. Soldiers spoke quietly among themselves, nodding at each other in understanding. For the first time, they did not feel small. Humans had faced an enemy stronger than anything they had imagined, and they had survived. Above the city, the remaining alien ships retreated, leaving dark trails across the twin suns. The overlords would regroup, but they had learned a lesson they would not forget. Humanity had risen, and Ryan was no longer a colony of slaves. It was a beacon of resistance. In the square, Aaron helped Myra to her feet. He held her close, but he did not speak of ownership. He only let her lean on him for support. For her part, Myra allowed it, feeling his strength without the weight of chains. They had both changed. Aaron had learned that care did not mean control. Myra had learned that some bonds could be formed not by promise, but by trust and shared purpose. The citizens began to repair the streets and buildings. Soldiers helped civilians gather supplies. The sense of unity was strong. Myra moved among them, her presence a symbol of what humans could achieve. She encouraged children to help carry small tools, guided soldiers in rebuilding walls, and whispered quietly to anyone who felt hopeless. Her courage had inspired them, and now her guidance gave them purpose. Aaron stood beside her, observing. He realized that true protection was not about keeping someone safe behind walls, it was about giving them the freedom to act, to lead, and to fight for what mattered. He reached out and took Myra's hand gently. "You are amazing," he said. "I see now. You are not mine. You are ours. You belong to humanity, just as it belongs to you." Myra looked at him and smiled, a warmth in her eyes. "And you belong to it too, Aaron. You fought with all your heart. We all did. We are stronger together than alone." The day passed, and the people of Ryan worked tirelessly. Machines were repaired, barricades rebuilt, and supplies shared. For the first time, humans felt like masters of their own fate. The victory had not come without cost. There were scars, losses, and exhaustion, but it had come with pride. In the evening, Aaron and Myra stood on the walls of the city, looking toward the horizon. The twin suns were setting, casting golden light across the valley. Smoke from the battle drifted in the wind, yet it no longer felt threatening. It felt like a reminder of what had been overcome. Aaron spoke quietly. "The aliens will return someday, I am sure. But they will not take us by fear again. Not now." Myra nodded. "We will be ready. Not because of machines alone, but because of people. Humans have something they cannot take: courage, unity, and the will to rise." Aaron smiled, finally understanding. "And I will stand beside you, not to own or control, but to fight together." Myra squeezed his hand. "Together," she agreed. The colony of Ryan would never be the same. Humans had discovered that their strength was more than weapons or defenses. It was their spirit, their will to rise against impossible odds, that made them powerful. They had faced an enemy that seemed unbeatable and had triumphed because they had chosen to fight together. As night fell, the city's lights flickered on, illuminating streets filled with people rebuilding, children playing cautiously, and soldiers standing guard with new confidence. The scars of battle would remain, but the hope they carried was stronger than any fear. Myra and Aaron stood side by side, watching the city come alive again. The future was uncertain, yes, but it was theirs. They had no chains, no enforced promises, only trust, courage, and the knowledge that humans could rise against any odds. In the distance, the last alien ship disappeared beyond the horizon. The colony had survived, and humanity had proven that they were not to be commanded or controlled. Ryan was free. Humans were free. And those who had once claimed to own others learned that true power belonged not to the strongest, but to the brave and united. Myra rested her head lightly on Aaron's shoulder. "The fight is never over," she whispered. "No," Aaron said, his voice firm but calm. "But now we fight together, and we will always rise." And with the stars beginning to shine over Ryan, the colony began its new path, a path of hope, courage, and freedom. Humanity had won its first great victory, and it was only the beginning of a future they would shape with their own hands.